Rick, you're muted.
Yeah, I didn't have
Yeah.
anything to say. Oh, I don't know who you, yeah.
I said, the only thing we've done is pass the minutes and no need to have that recorded, but it is now.
2020. It was a crazy year. I guess everybody already knows that. We started out the year really, really well. We started out, we had a new logo, and this is it right here. We were open on Monday, 12 to 7. So whoops, this is our, let me just, I'm sorry. Hi, come on. There we go. Okay. But I still lost my, okay. Right now, our hours are, we're open Monday, 12 to 7, Tuesday and Wednesday, 2 to 7, and Thursday and Friday, 4 to 7, Saturday, 11 to 2. Due to COVID, of course, we were not open our required minimum number of public service hours, which is 20. Pre-COVID, we were open 32 hours a week, and we are now open 24 hours a week. Some of the things that we had to do, changes that we had to make. Initially, we spent a long time working on policies, on cleaning procedures, documentation that we are still doing, signs for masks. I was the only person in the building for about 3 months, keeping those communication going, keeping the website, going with things, and communicating with the board, with patrons. All of our online products still remained there. Later on, we had 2 staff come in with distance learning. Vicki has been distance ordering. She was ordering, she worked from home. And then we had 2 staff in here with distance from each other. Separate workspaces, we had to set all those things up, limited patrons. And we installed this air scrubber also that you see in front of you. And that was really a wonderful thing. And Mark arranged for that, got that all in there. I lost my notes. Thank you. I thought I'd tell you just a little bit about the North Chatham Library for the new people especially. And we are part of the Mid-Hudson Library System, which is composed of 66 libraries in 5 counties. The Mid-Hudson Library System is a cooperative system chartered by the New York Board of Regents, and its job is to help local libraries. And it's to save money so that we're not duplicating all sorts of the same services. Mid-Hudson Library System is funded by the state, underwrites many of our programs and that we rely on. The state funds account for 75% of the Mid-Hudson Library operating budget, and 100% of the central library program, which funds things like Overdrive, the e-magazines, the Mango, Universal Class, Job Now, technical support, the delivery, Encore, all those things are paid through the state at 100%. State aid was cut by 22.6%. And right now, I haven't heard anything different than it being cut by another 10% on top of that. It always comes up at every single meeting that I go to, but I haven't heard that the governor has restored any of that. Resource sharing, it's got 2.25 million items online in our library catalog. Yeah, and it allows, through them, we have this great, wonderful program with all 66 libraries that we can get titles from other libraries that you can renew online. It's things that we couldn't do alone. Our service area, which with saying that with a caveat, is that we serve anybody who comes here. We serve Rensselaer County, we serve Palatia patrons that are coming through, but we are registered to for the school districts of Ichabod Crane and New Lebanon in the town of Chatham. We're not, our charter excludes us from calling a patron a person that goes to the Chatham School District. That includes the villages of Malden Bridge, Chatham Center, Old Chatham, parts of Brainerd, North Chatham, Riders Mills. Patrons. We are chartered to serve 997 patrons. That is set through the census. So this is still from the last census, not the most recent census. We have registered 768 patrons. Of those, 629 live within the county. And we serve 139 people, like just up on Bunker Hill Road. If you think about it, you know, well, Judy Albert, for instance, you know, right over the line. You're even further over the line. But during COVID, we started an online registration. So I have a list of, that's 26 from last year, but I have more people too. The thing with that is that you can register online, but then you need to eventually come in. In order to get a library card, you need to prove who you are. You have to show some ID, you know, because you could use your library card actually to get another kind of identification. So there's rules about that have to be followed. Oh, I'm going to talk about our books, cataloged books. We have 14,282 books that are cataloged, ready to go out to anybody. That's in 2020. If you look at this chart or this table that I have in front of you here, you can see the difference between the 2 years, and a few different times here. I'm going to just compare the 2 years. You're going to expect that things weren't as good in 2020. So we'll just put that out there right now. We did get in the adult book catalogs have increased over 50 books over 2019 numbers, and the children's books decreased number 34. And this gives you an idea of how many adult books. We have 6,043 adult books and 8,239 children's books. Our collection also includes our electronic books. We have a total of 13,000 of those. We don't own all of them, but because we are part of Mid-Hudson Library System, we own a share of them. The ones that we own outright ourselves are 170 of them, plus those 13,000. In addition to that, we have these electronic collections so you can get through online, and those include the Tumble Books, Job Now, which is a great resource, but you know, not used enough. Mango to learn a language. Universal Class was new. RB Digital for movies and things, that's going to be gone. And Novell New York. Anybody know about that one? Nobody. Ah, Randy would. Yeah, I bet you use it. So this
Yes.
is, do you?
As a research scientist, yes. I do.
I bet. I don't think people, you know, still again, know how much research you can do through the library. So this is just the home page of this, but you'll notice that there's books, magazines, careers, jobs, educational resources, genealogy, health sites, history. And this is where you can get the New York State newspapers and research and science. You have access to all those things. Everyone does through their barcode. It takes
Vicki,
a little bit. Yep.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So does that mean if we're a library card holder of North Chatham Library, does that automatically make us a library card holder of the New York State Library?
You need, for New York City, you need to get another library card. which you can use all over. I'm not sure that that really answered your question.
Okay.
The public libraries, I do not know that right offhand.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, no problem.
So your question is, if our barcode, usually with most of these things, Randy, what I'm going to say is you need to use your barcode and then you set up an account with,
Okay.
the RB Digital, the genealogy, the newspapers. So you end up having to go through another step in order to get everything.
I have a New York State Library card. I just wondered if the system had changed, because there are a lot of resources at the New York State Library
Yeah.
too. So,
And it's not really known enough about it. People don't. You can get through any of these through Novell, New York. Is that how you say it? Or Novel, New York? Either way. You can use your barcode from the North Chatham Library to get any of those. Okay. We're still talking about collection. The collection is just things that we own that can go out. Videos that we have in the library, 1,600 audiobooks. We have another almost 1,400 audiobooks that are here in the library. The collection of all materials is 36,729. That's our grand total. In 2020, we added 519 books, 948 electronic resources, 2 extra magazines, and some other materials. I get mixed up. The electronic has to do with the overdrive and things along that line. And you see in 2019, we had actually purchased a lot more electronic books, and yet we purchased even more and bought into some of them. Books we purchased, you would expect not as many people were coming in here. We actually stopped entirely buying books for a while.
A question, Vicki.
Yeah.
When you say electronic, is that electronic books that we have access to, and it's not it's not Mango and all the other things, or is it? Okay,
No.
it's ebooks.
Yes.
Okay.
My understanding. I will say again, did I say this? That most of these figures come from the annual report that I need to file with Mid-Hudson. There's 2 major reports that we have to do. We have to do a summer program report, and we have to do this annual report. They provide us with some of these numbers. I'm not going through and counting them. Some libraries recount all their numbers and that sort of stuff. So I am given some of this material. Just they figured it out. Not the magazines but they can, the books purchased, that's how many we put in cataloged. All right. Yeah, as you can see, because we cut down on our expenses, we spent only $15,000 this last year for the library collection. And in 2019, we spent $23,400. Collection expenses. I think I just mixed myself up. We spent. Is this making sense? Oh yeah, good. Interlibrary loan. That's where the books, the movies, the book bag went out this year. All those things that go out are materials we're providing, and materials we're receiving are all those things we're getting from another library. We send out more than we receive. You would think then they would care about getting us more delivery. So this is circulation and just books, and I'm going to talk. I wanted you to see, what had happened. So in 2020, between the fiction and the nonfiction adult books, we circulated 3,263. Children's books, 2,689. I bet that surprises you in some ways, but you know, the children's books go out a lot. And if you look at the numbers are even a little bit closer in 2019. 2019, we circulated about 5,000 adult books and 4,500 children's books. There's the difference. And that's how the difference of COVID, of people not coming in. We're down almost 2,000 adults and another 2,000 in children's. Other than books, magazines, 153. We didn't circulate any magazines in children. Audiobooks, 585 versus 26 for kids. DVDs, 1,000, and children's DVDs, 165. Equipment, that's that projector that we loan out, the laptop, the Kindle, the iPad, all those. Electronic audio and video download. So that means you put it onto your computer and read it or saw it. Audiobooks, almost 5,400, 4,800, and video, 381. In this year, we added Canopy and Hoopla. Hoopla at the very end of the year, Canopy earlier in the year. So that is an expense, and it's a big bonus to the people that use it. In the Hoopla, you can actually do movies and you can do books. Circulation, electronic, here we go. Again, these figures came from Mid-Hudson. And you would expect this to be higher, and it is. Successful retrieval of electronic information means that you were able to get to that site and read those tumble books. For instance, 3 people went to Job Now. Chilton's, Mango, only 24, Universal Class 29. These are wonderful resources. Grand total of all materials. So of all the materials, books, DVDs, videos, we're down to about 10,000 in 2020, and that we had about 16,000 in 2019. So that's how much we were hurt. 6,000 difference. Now you're gonna look at this one really carefully. I did a couple charts here just to give you an idea. The orange there is showing you the number of sessions. So if you looked at knitting met like about 30 times, and it had a total of average of attending is from this side. You'd have to read that from this side. They had about 12 people that attended each time. The Great Give Back here, I'm going to use this one in the middle. You can see my cursor, right? Mm-hmm. The Great Give Back was something that we had only one from the side, and we had like 7 people. Arts and Culture met 15 times, and it had about 32 people, 32 sessions. Number of sessions, total number of sessions, about 32. So you guys are all going to have this. It'll also be on the website if you ever want to look at it. I just, I thought it was an interesting way of looking at things. Let's go on. In ELEC, we had how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 15 programs, and that's the number of programs for each one. Here's some of the programs. Aging in Place with Company, adopting a zero waste lifestyle, We started off in January with animal tracks and signs. It was very interesting. Timely things, COVID scams. We also did Zoom sessions that aren't on there. We did 2 of those. Dr. Battisti kicked off the retirement series. This is ELIC. ELIC had 4 programs really, and 1 on the web, and they were marvelously attended. Citizen
Arts and culture, Vicki.
Arts and, what did I say? Yes, thank you. This is for the first time we participated in the Great Give Back, and that we went on the sides of the road and cleaned up, picked up trash. There's a lot of trash out there. That's our Dottie. She was here. She was doing it. And that's George and Wilsey. Stan Jolly, his wife's a researcher, still doing a lot. And he actually went into the creek to pull some stuff out of the creek. Another way of just looking at everything that was going on is breaking it down into this pie chart. It shows how active the board is, how many committees, how many things are going on here all the time. Let me see if there were 288 total attendees at 38 committee meetings. That's only library committees. In the programs that we have here, you can compare that to, there was 1,016 in attendance at 104 programs. 2 of them were summer programming. Actually, there's 11 children's and 1 teen program. And the arts and culture counted in there too. There were 4 community organizations that used the library. We had 1 fundraiser. So this was one of the 2 books that Kim was nice enough to read and put on the site. On the website, we had Crash the Cat, Susan Gress, Red Riding Hood was rotten, and the Riados Theater. So let me just take a few minutes.
Today, we're going to read a story called Honestly. Red Riding Hood was rotten, as told by the wolf. This story was written by...
It was wonderful. We did have the story crafters came. They're going to come back again this summer. This was one of the 2 live events we had.
There was one of those scenes. Mama, I got beans. Mama, beans with magic inside. She tossed the beans out the window, but while they were sleeping, one of the beans sprouted and it started a curry and gives me a lift now.
Anyways.
Today, we're going to...
Whoops, we're going to stop that one too. The website. Again, another way of looking at things, children's and recorded. The story crafters was in person. We posted a bit also, a little bit of it. Binocular astronomy, that was our teen program. Susan Gress had some lovely stories that were posted. Okay. Also, things that were posted was the Foliage Library. And that was also virtual, but it was recorded and posted. Citizen Be Heard, whoops, and Victor Huhas. This is some website statistics. This we had a new website that we started in October, and so we had 5,647 visits to our website, some from Panoramic, some from Mid-Hudson when they were hosting it. we are down almost 4,000 from the visits that we had in 2019. And that's a reduction of about 41%, or we're only using almost 60% of our what we had done the year before. This is at a time when Valatia, for instance, went up 150%. And the last thing that I think is important to look at is what device are people using. And if you look at this, you'll see this is the desktop. This comes from Isaac. Desktop and the tablet accounts for about 2/3 of the visits. The phones right here, this is 30%. And one of the most used services of the library is our free Wi-Fi outside. It's not shown on this graph at all, but people use it all the time, and it's a great service that we provide. And I just want to say finally, thank you to the board, to you, to all the committees that work so hard, to the volunteers that come here. We really, really, really could not do this without your continuing support, your help, and your feedback. And that comes from me, from Craig, and from Vicki. I think I did not mention, I thought I put a slide in there, that Craig Reardon actually started with us July 7th, right after we were starting to open up with distancing and masks and cleaning protocols and stuff. And he has been here as, oh, I have it at the very next one, as our publicity point person. And I'm hoping that he's going to continue here for a long time. I'm done. Thank you.
So, thank you, Vicki. That was extraordinarily well done.
Thank you.
I really like the way you added the graphics to it, and I think it really helps tell the story. So nicely done.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for Vicki before we move on to the Finance Committee?
Got a big question. I'm not sure. It may be Vicki. It may be a broader question for the board. I'm struck by the website. Well, two things. I'm not surprised that, use was down and circulation was down. That made a lot of sense. But that Valatia, so many libraries actually experienced an increase in usage during this period. And, even Valatia, for instance, you said their website usage was up 150%, whereas ours was down. What do you think accounts for the rise in other places? I think that's a more relevant question, perhaps, than why ours was down. What's the difference? What was going on that was different?
I think one thing was that they had more staff. So that they had staff and they were continuing to do lots of online programming, crafts, takeout, people on the website, showing people how to do things. That's at least one thing, is that they really pushed their website and doing things all the time. And we did not have the staff to do that. It's, until there's a 414 and there's more staff here, we just do what we can. I think that's one of the big factors.
Oh, thanks.
I could be wrong, but.
No, I think one of the things is there's a push factor. There's clearly got to be a push factor. If you're going to get people to come back into your website, you got to be putting material out on a regular basis to draw them back in.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, it does. And another thing I wonder about, Vicki, is I know that, Valatia has a lot more children, right? It's a denser community and they do a lot of children's programs. Do you think that that contributed, or you don't know?
I think especially last year, since people weren't coming in. But even when I was talking to Elizabeth about this once, some of their online things had 4 people.
Oh.
So it wasn't a lot. They have now cut back on some of their staff because of the monetary issues too. But for a long time, they were working full speed with everybody. But you're right. No, that's very relevant.
Vicki, I wonder, does Valatia also have a Twitter account and Facebook, and is it as active as ours is?
I can't really answer that.
Okay.
I know they have Facebook. I
Okay.
think some of their things were done on Facebook as a live event.
Their Instagram account is very
Or, sorry,
active.
Okay.
that's what I meant, Instagram, not Twitter, Instagram. Okay.
Yeah, they have somebody there who's good at it. So it gets posted more often than we do. And that's something that the marketing committee is working on and trying to figure out. So. No, I don't want to restart now.
Can I just ask a question? Somebody is listening to the meeting on their iPhone, and who is that person so that I can record your name? Is that Kathleen? Okay, sorry. You're hiding there. All right, I do have you, Kathleen. All right, sorry.
Okay, terrific. Thanks again, Vicki. That was really well done. Really well done. I'm looking forward to seeing the hard copy next time I stop by the library. Christy, you're up. You and the Finance Committee.
Sure. So let's see, what do I have on here? Update on annual appeals letter. So we are at $10,285 that has come in from the annual appeal. So not too shabby. So Rick, we hit your 10,000 target there, which is great.
Nice.
Nice job, everybody. So we're probably winding down on much more coming in. You know, up to this point, getting onesie twosie trickling in here and there, but I think it's probably going to start trailing off. So we might be right about where we're gonna end up landing, right about that area. Let's see, I also had tax filing on here. So no new real update from a tax filing perspective. They are working on our 990. So that should all get filed and in by the May date. So no issues there. And then I did send out an Excel file with the budget and 2021 actuals year to date. I don't know if I can share it. Let's see. I can, hopefully. All right, I think you should all see it at this point. So I won't spend tons of time here. So I'm just going to hit some of the high notes. From an income perspective, you can see that we budgeted about 95 for the year, just about 96 almost. Year to date, we've brought in 90,000. So that's inclusive of the 10,000 in the appeal letter. In addition, Hudson River Bank Foundation typically gives us $5,000 a year. They did give us an extra $1,000 this year without asking, acknowledging that several small businesses are struggling still from a COVID effect perspective. So that was a nice, happy surprise a couple weeks ago when that check and letter came in. In addition to that, let's see, what else did I want to tell you on revenue? There are some other dollars in fundraising. We did have some carryover wreath funding come in the fundraisers line, so that's included in there. The quilt sale is now also included in there, the $500 that came in for that. What we don't have in here yet is any of the funding for the spring sweets and treats sale. That's still ongoing, mostly because we're a cash company and we haven't actually collected that cash yet. But we're in a relatively good spot compared to budget from a revenue perspective or income perspective. Brought in about 94% of what we budgeted so far this year, which is a great place to be at the end of March. Can't complain. From an expense perspective, again, there's not too much out of the ordinary in the first quarter. I don't think we had anything really unbudgeted in a major way that has come through so far. Everything is tracking right about where we would expect it to be through the first quarter of the year. Again, from a budget perspective, we're just under $100,000 budgeted for expenses, and year to date through the end of March, we've spent about $15,000. So I do have like little tchotchke notes on each of the line items, but I won't, bore you guys by reading them all directly to you. Overall, we're in a really good spot actually through the end of March. And that appeal letter pretty much closed our whole fundraising budget target for the year so far, and we still have some things to go to even that out even more. So did anybody have any questions on anything in the budget or actuals? I know I didn't really give you guys much time to look at it too far in front of the meeting.
Is there how much seasonality is there to the budget? We've got, I think what you said, 15,000 of expenses this first quarter. There's not tons of seasonality on the expense side. The revenue does tend to come in a little bit earlier in the year, especially because 65,000 of it comes from the town of Chatham, and it comes in January, February timeframe. So we're not going to like blow our budget away from a revenue perspective. And expenses are pretty steady throughout the year. I would say the collection budget kicks up a little bit more towards the end of the year. We seem to do a little bit more buying for the collection a little later in the year. But everything else is pretty steady throughout the year. Okay. Let's see. I don't think I had anything else really pressing from a finance perspective. I will be sending an email out in the next week or so to set up the next finance committee meeting for May. I think Sue is going to be back in May, so it'll be nice to maybe be able to get together behind the library in person and see each other face to face. So we'll see if we can get that planned out on a nice day.
Terrific.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions for Christy on the finances to date? No. Okay.
Rick, no questions, but I want to say that I'm impressed with how much the appeal letter has brought in. That's great.
Yeah.
We have a very responsive community, I'd say.
Yeah, we have to do that on a yearly basis from now on.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Maybe twice a year. Who knows?
Mhm.
That would be optimism, not greed. Okay. If there's nothing else, we can move on to fundraising. Dale, you're up.
Okay, so two updates tonight on things we have cooking. Christy's going to give a quick update on the spring sweets and treats. And then Kim is going to talk about possibly something for the fall. Maybe. Maybe. Christy, you want to go first?
Sure, absolutely. So sweets and treats, that sale is ongoing. We have currently sold 51 items so far to date, which is gross about $803 in total sales. So we'll get about 250-ish of that when all is said and done, if nothing else changes. We did also get a $100 donation from somebody who received the notice about the sweets and treats sale, but couldn't buy sweets and treats. They're diabetic. So it's nice that they still found a way that they wanted to support the library. So if we did nothing else at all, nobody else had any activity, we'd net $350-ish around there. But it does run, we will stop taking orders on April 21st. So I'm going to be a little annoying next week and send out a note to remind everybody to, share the link with your friends, family, or otherwise, so we can get a last push in there. This didn't cost us anything. So even if we do only get 350,000 or 350,000, yes, I'm at the wrong company here. Even if we do only get $350 out of it, it's $350 we didn't have yesterday. So,
But we can do better. I'm sure
We-
that the
we
board,
sure
will, I'm sure the board will step up with some of their own purchases and that they'll share that link around. So let's do it.
And also one just quick comment on that. We learned this with the wreath sale last holiday season. The majority of the people found us by personal emails from the board, sending out a blast email to everybody you know. Here's the link. This is what we're doing. We asked everybody that had bought wreath. The majority of them were through kind of direct response emails. So it's really helpful if you can to send out to your personal contacts as well, please.
All right, terrific.
Kim,
What else?
you want-
What else?
chat?
For sale?
Kim is going to give a brief intro to something.
This is going to be really brief, I think, because Dale and I have, Dale came to me and said, what do you think about trying to do Books and Blooms in the fall in an autumnal theme so that it's more pumpkins and gourds and mums and things? And I thought that was very interesting. The thing is, the perennial problem with Books and Blooms is it is a labor-heavy event that is a lot of time from a lot of people, and a lot of the past department heads, because the way we've started doing it is it's broken down into separate departments, and a lot of the past department heads are no longer available or able to do it. So at this point, it's going to come down to whether or not we can properly get the heads taken care of. We can get enough people, I am sure, to run the event once those heads are in place, but you know, a general call for, hey, I want you to head up the bakery department. You need somebody that you know can be managerial. You know? So that's the point we're at right now, is finding those people. Anybody who's interested, of course. I can't think of anybody on the board who wouldn't be fabulous if you were interested. And we have lots of information from past years so that nobody starts from zero when they're doing it. So I'm hoping it can work out. You know, we would scale things back a little bit, but even just as a community event, it's a really nice thing if we were able to do it.
And we've done a little bit of kind of soft recruiting, and I think we have a few slots filled and are only looking for a few slots. But we also aren't committing to even doing this, I think, until we get a more rounded out group. So we're in the executive recruitment phase right now. So
yeah. Well, like one of the situations we ran into the last time we did it was we had nobody to run the raffle department. So, okay, we let raffle go. You reach a point, there's a balance between how much work everybody has to put in and how much money you end up making. And we were down quite a bit that year. And I honestly, I'll be honest, I did do my homework before this meeting, so I can't tell you if it was just the raffle, missing the raffle that was the difference, but
There's a big part
kind
of
of
it.
requires the whole thing in order to make it worth doing.
Yep. So if anybody wants to jump up and down and say, I'll run the raffle, this would be a great time to do it.
or the marketing or the bake sale.
Yeah, actually, at some, after maybe your next meeting or something, why don't you send around an email to the full board letting us know what positions you're looking to recruit for?
We will. We've got a couple people we're targeting right now for some things, but we're going to give that a day or two. And then, yes, the plan is next week to kind of come to the board, come to the fundraising committee and really start to saying, this is what we need. These are job descriptions and this is what we're looking for. So, and if we can fill those slots, I think we're going to try to do it.
Good. I like the idea because it is a very good fundraiser for us, but it's also a very nice community event.
Well, and I think in the pros and cons that Kim and I were going through, a big pro is really a return to a little bit of normalcy, a nice community event that people do like going to. I mean, it doesn't make us $1 million, but people really enjoy going to it. And I think that has value. So that's a big part of it.
I already signed on with Kim. I told her I.
Oh, we got you. Don't worry.
But, I'm just wondering with the book portion, if maybe we need to think maybe of doing that outside a little bit rather than inside. Number one, it's the handicap issue because our patrons are getting older and those stairs are very tough for them to get up and down. And, we've had help with them carrying books and that, but we might want to think about maybe trying to move the books outside a little bit and scaling it down.
Yeah, and I think let's take all that away, because I think there are other kind of tweaks and changes we're thinking about to kind of all the departments. Obviously, it's a different time of year, so everything is a bit different than it would be than if it was in May. So yes, that's definitely noted, and we can discuss that further once we kind of get over the next hurdle. Agreed.
If for sure we're doing it, then it's definitely worth discussing.
Absolutely.
So
And sense for books to be in a tent, under a tent. Outside.
potentially, yeah. Yep. That seems likely because you'd want to be able to set it up in advance and you can't take it down in a big hurry if the weather changes. So
Yeah.
yes, that's probably a strong consideration. So Dale, I have an update on the idea that I ran by you. Would you like to hear it now or offline?
Yeah. For the year and kind of off. Sorry, was I frozen?
Yes.
Yes, offline.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dale, I'd like to have an offline with you about my fundraiser idea. I'm going to meet with 2 people on Sunday.
Great. So yeah, after I speak with you both, what I'd love to do to bring back to everybody at our next meeting, which I guess is in May, and that's sort of a calendar for the rest of the year. So we've got several things kind of cooking. Board is aware of what's on the table from spring sweets and treats all the way through till holiday reads again. So just a full calendar look. We're not ready to talk about that right now, but next month we will be.
Good.
That's it.
Okay, terrific. Thank you, Dale. Dottie, Marketing Committee.
Yes, I want to address just our website, but I would like to start by giving a little bit of the history of our website since there are new people. Before the current website, the website we had before was the design and support and administrative of Mid-Hudson, and we had that for years. If you want to know what the old website looked like, go to the New Lebanon Library, Livingston Library, Phoenicia Library, and you'll see what the Mid-Hudson style, if you will, of a website looked like. Now, the marketing committee decided to try something different. So we pulled away from Mid-Hudson and connected up with Isaac Nelson of Panoramic Studios to create a new website. And he did that for us. Vicki worked a lot closely with him, as did the marketing committee. One of the reasons that we wanted to move to a different style was people using their mobile phones. With the old MHLS website style, if you went on your mobile phone, you really could not see well our website. You'd have to keep pinching to make the letters larger and you'd lose stuff around the side. And we wanted a new website where you could see the website on the computer and you could see it clearly on your mobile phone. We have that. Now, as we've gone along, I thought it was 2 years we had this website, but when I listened to you folks, it's actually more like a year. There have been some glitches and things we want different and how the design is, and we've done a lot of work back and forth with Isaac. But I want to expand the feedback about the website beyond just the folks in the marketing committee and Vicki. So if you would be so kind to just each of you, give me an email or say something about your experience with the website. Even if you don't go on it, write to me and say, I never look at it. Or I look at it and I can't figure out my way around. Or I look at it and it's terrific and this is what I like about it. We're really looking for as much feedback as we can get about the website as it is right now. So please, I think my email address is on the contact sheet. I don't think I'm going to go so far as to call you up and bug you about it, but It would really help us a lot if you did that. So that's it. Thank you. Any questions? Okay.
Okay, thank you, Dottie. Buildings and Grounds, Mark is not here tonight. But the one update that I do know is that he and Mary Clark have just about finished doing our facility plan. And if you'll recall, the facility plan talks about when we need to replace the roof, when do we need to replace the septic system, when do we need to replace the furnace, and all of those kind of long-term capital expenses that we should be worried about. So hopefully we'll be seeing that at either the May or the June board meeting from the Buildings and Grounds Committee. And I can't answer any questions. Oh, I can also tell you from Buildings and Grounds that hopefully the plantings on the DeAngelis side of the parking lot fence will be going in the next month or so. All right. That's it for Buildings and Grounds because I can't answer any other questions. Arts and Culture, Julie, you're up. You've got quite the bullets here.
I'll go through this pretty quickly, but in March, we had our program with Carl Berg, Catching Souls on Film. And it was really an experiment because he wanted to have a discussion. We had about 30 people, 30 computers, and it was a very lively discussion. So he would put up his photos of candid street photos, and people were very responsive. So it went very well. This Sunday, we have an incredible composer who will do her presentation. And if you know anyone who cares about music, I would encourage you either to sign up yourselves or let your friends know. As of last night, when we did a tech rehearsal, Vicki said we only had 12 people signed up. And I mean, she is a stellar composer. I won't go through all of her things, but she's internationally known. Her work is played all over the world. She's done film scores, she's done orchestral scores. She'd worked with like the Los Angeles Philharmonic, orchestras in Rome and Lithuania and American Composers Orchestra, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And she's also a really lovely person. And her work brings in a lot of world music as well. So she's blending classical music with a lot of other instruments and ethnic possibilities. So she's fascinating, and I'd love to have more people attend. So that's Sunday. And then just to mention again that in May, sign up if you're interested in Matt Bua's program, because it is a live event outside, yoo-hoo, in Catskill, in his sculpture site, and he can only take 30 people. And Maeve McCool, who is the coordinator of the DEC grants, has said that she really wants to attend, and I'm hoping she does. So anyway, it would be a chance to meet her too. But it promises to be really interesting. So for the moment, that's what I'll say.
Terrific.
Julie, is there a
Yes.
form of the invitation for this Sunday that I can forward to people?
Yes, I will send you that.
So wait a second here. Excuse me for a second. Vicki, don't all the board members get the emails that come from the library that had that on there?
They actually just sent it out just before, so that everybody.
Right, so it may be in
It's
your
in your
inbox
email.
already,
Yeah.
Judy.
Okay.
Yeah. Carol?
Julie, the program sounds great, and I've been thinking about maybe we should reconsider, now that we can't do anything this time, but the weather is getting gorgeous, And Sundays at 3 o'clock is a wonderful time in the winter. Now that people's gardens are calling and walks are calling, I'm wondering come May or even late April, we shouldn't consider moving some of the arts and cultures to an evening. Because that's something I was interested in that program, and I just know that I'm going to be outside. I have to make that decision. If it's nice on Sunday, I'm going to be outside, and I think that may be a real issue. I'm thinking of that too, also with the Zoom fatigue. You know, choice of listening to something on Zoom, it sounds wonderful, but your choice may be, I've been to a lot of Zoom, it's time to get outside. So I'm thinking, you know, we don't have to be real rigid about our times. And I maybe for the summer next year, we might want to consider a Friday night or a Thursday night, or, well, I don't know the night you might think of, but I think it's worth an experiment.
Oh, I agree. That's a really good point, Carol. And I do think people are tired of it. Although we've had some really wonderful experiences with it. So,
Yeah, well, until now, it didn't bother anybody to be in at 3 o'clock on a Sunday.
Right. No, that's a very good point. Yep. Yep. Thank you.
I just wanted to bring up what Vicki sent was the Zoom invitation for Sunday's program. And I would ask that people not really forward that around in a mass email. We have been, you know, there are concerns about people sort of Zoom bombing or whatever, different meetings. And so traditionally, Vicki has been giving out the Zoom invitation for people when they request it. So Judy, I wouldn't use that as a mass email.
It's not a Zoom program.
Well, it's not an invitation in any event. What I was really hoping for was, you know, the email that's got this is what's coming up. And if you're interested, contact the library.
Yeah.
That's really what we want.
Yeah.
I'll send you, Judy, I'll send you what I've sent out to my people. You know,
But
which
just
has
to stress the composer one is Zoom, but the Matt Bula one in May is not. That is a live in-person. You go to near Catskill to go there.
And it's outdoors. Yeah.
And for what it's worth, it's supposed to rain on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Well, that may help us. Oh dear.
Perfect time to watch a composer on Zoom then, right?
Yeah. All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Terrific. Thank you, Julie. Carol, any update you want to give us from ELIC? I know you've got an upcoming program on balance. Carol, you're muted.
There we go. April 14th is Fall Prevention Improving Balance. It's got 11 people, and that's before the newspaper articles went out. And that's without Teresa Mayhew and a new physical therapist in the area whose last name is Replay.
Repnoy. Yeah.
Replay. And so I'm pleased with that. I think we'll pick up some more. We're skipping May because May got really busy. And on June 6th, we have our annual memoir reading that we've done for years, Life in the Past Lane. And this year, I just want to tell you of a little policy decision that Teresa and I came up with. For the first time ever, we have somebody writing from a religious perspective. And I first thought, is that an issue? And then I realized memoirs are personal. And I think what we need to do is put a bit of a little reminder that these are individual memoirs of individual people and do not necessarily reflect the opinion or the interest of the library as a whole. And I think that will work, but I just wanted to make everybody aware of that and see if there was any discussion.
Anybody?
Is there,
I don't know how you
is there
plan
hate
to
speech in
do
it?
that, Carol. I agreed that I would intro the stories. So if you think you want me to say anything, in response to what you were saying about that, I'd be
I think
glad
I would
to.
do it in the beginning, so we don't necessarily pick out that one. And well, Teresa and I will work with the ELA committee. We have some time on this.
Yeah, just
Something-
some phrasing and wording and, that's respectful and non-judgmental.
Yeah, yeah. You think what WAMC does all the time, the opinion of this panelist is that of the individual and does not necessarily represent, something along that line.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah,
a
that's
person
fine.
speaking about their faith or are they,
No, it's part of the story. And in
okay,
the story, she mentions Jesus and things like that.
oh, okay. I mean,
She's not proselytizing at all.
okay.
Very kind of strange story, but it's very interesting. And I think I'm very comfortable with that. But since this has never come up before, I just wanted Terry, did I capture what we said right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we want to, face of this exact situation, but I think it's a policy going forward, that, you want to be inclusive and so forth, but you also, I mean, I listen to WAMC all the time and their commentators, they say right at the end that the views expressed by the commentators are their own and don't necessarily reflect the opinion, management of WAMC or the board. So I think it's just a protection there, and it's just, I think it should be a standard operating practice, and not just with this particular memoir reading, but all of them going forward or whatever. So,
Agree.
so
It never seemed necessary before, but this was the one time it came up. So anyway, that's June 6th with a rain date at 3 p.m. outside. July 8th, I think you all know this, we're doing a reading with Jenny Berkmeyer's book, The Little Library That Moved Down the Road, and combine that with an ice cream social. So that'll be an intergenerational program, and that will round out our year. And I just want to say I was able to put the chart Dick gave me about the amount of ELIC programs we ran and how we met the goal for the Fund for what we promised the Fund for Columbia County we do, and we exceeded it in the COVID year. And I put that in the grants. So that's really nice. And by the way, Rick, I don't know if you wanted to skip the grant reports.
No, I should have managed to tack that into on top of fundraising, but you can do it as part of your ELEC presentation. We should know about whatever grant work you're doing that you want to tell us about.
Well, we're waiting on 2 grants, and I think that's interesting for the budget. We heard through an informal grapevine that the awards have been made for the Fund for Columbia County, so that should be coming out soon. I'm optimistic we're going to get a reasonable amount from them, but until you have that letter in your hand, you don't know.
Right.
We're still waiting for the Bank of Greene County, and I haven't been able to look at any other grant sources. So, but if we're so close, we lowballed our projected grant income. So I'm pretty confident that we will meet or exceed that budget. So I'll let you know if that's right next month. I think it's going to be right.
Okay, terrific. Fingers crossed for you on that, Carol. Okay, anything else for Carol? All right, you got off easy, Carol. Dottie, did you want to bring up anything about the long range plan tonight, or are we still going to push that can down the road again?
I can't keep pushing it down the road. When I looked at the minutes, there was something I was supposed to do in terms of consulting with a few people about where to go and where to start. So I think I'll reach out to some board members and see if we can have a meeting just to take a look at it. And I trust that the new people, I sent you an electronic copy of the strategic plan, and I hope you all got it. So I'll be in touch with some folks and step up to that job.
Okay, terrific. I don't have any report from the Nominating and Governance Committee this evening. If you know of a committee or a job or a role that needs recruiting on, you can let me know directly. And obviously, I'm always on the lookout for good candidates for our board. We have 15 board members currently. We can have up to 21. And this has always been the more the merrier, because there's so many talented and dedicated people in our community. So we do have open slots for additional board members if we can identify really good candidates. Terrific. And if you have thoughts on that, you know, feel to email me or call me or text me directly. All right.
Rick,
Randy, yeah.
are you going to do the bylaws?
I see that we have to make a change in the bylaws. So I'm going to make a motion. Hold on, I got to get the numbers right here. All right. I'm going to make a motion that in our current bylaws, Article 8, Section 2, annual meeting, that we strike the following. It's the end of the section paragraph, Section 2, Article 8, Section 2. And we're going to strike the following at the end of the paragraph. The library director will present an annual report on the activities of the library, including usage of the library by the public, programs presented during the past year, collection use, and any substantial changes in the library collection, and other matters of importance to the library. So we're not going to require that to be done at the annual meeting, which we wanted to move to December so that we could tie it in with the holiday party. Vicki has to file that annual report every year with Mid-Hudson and New York State Library. So she's always going to do that about this time of year, and she'll always report on it at the board meeting. But I don't feel the need for it to be expressly outlined in the bylaws unless somebody feels strongly differently about that. We know it's going to happen. We know that it's a big project and it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And we know the board is always going to want to hear it, but I don't feel the need for it to be in the bylaws. And this way we don't confuse it with the annual meeting anymore either. Is that okay? So I've made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Terrific. Any further discussion?
Who's
Hearing
that
none?
second?
Oh wait, Kathleen Turley has her hand up.
But
You
she
did,
hasn't,
Julie?
unlike everyone else, haven't Zoomed in a while. Do you want to is there a way to do it just to say it'll be done annually? So 5 years from now, there's no question that, you know, it's not something that needs to be addressed on an annual basis.
We could do that. I'm just not prepared to make that motion and put it in the bylaws. I'd have to, I'm flipping through the bylaws now, but I'd have to find a good spot for it there. So I may come back to you to fulfill that suggestion, Kathleen.
Okay.
Down the road. There may be a natural place to put that. I am in the meeting section now. But so for the time being, I would suggest just striking what I've suggested, which is the second.
Sure.
And I'll look for a place to put it. And if I find a good place to put it, I'll bring it back to you.
Okay, thanks.
Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Abstentions or in opposition? Any? None. The motion carries. Our bylaws have been amended. All right, Randy, what do you have?
So we move on to a report from the executive committee. And the executive committee is comprised of Rick, the president, our two vice presidents, Dale and Dottie, Christy, the treasurer, and me, the secretary. And we've been working on a variety of things related to job descriptions, goals and objectives, and duties and responsibilities of the library board and the library director. If we start with the library director job description, that has been updated. I actually don't have it open in front of me, but that has been updated from, if we had a description in the past, it's very old. So we've updated it to sort of be more relevant and current to the activities that are taking place with the board now. So I've sent this to everyone and asked that you guys take a look. We are looking for board approval on the library director job description.
And I just wanted to point out that the job description does include a bullet, which says responsible for the creation and on-time submission of the annual report to MHLS and library board. We may want it in the bylaws anyway, but at least we've got it as part of the job description, which is good to know.
Great. Carol?
Yeah, I may be wrong, but when I read it, we missed a month. I thought we had some discussion at the last meeting that included in Vicky's job description would be something about the amount of support that you would provide to, the program committees, both Julie's and mine. And that seemed to be absent. So maybe I misunderstood the discussion.
I think it's
I don't remember that, but I may not. I just don't remember that, but I mean, where would you, do you have a spot that you would want to put it in the job description? Or
I think
actually,
it is
Carol,
in the
it
job.
doesn't, I think
Is
it doesn't really belong, well, but not a specific amount of time.
Right,
think
not a
that's-
No, I don't think that's appropriate. It will change. Okay, so maybe I misread it. I just didn't see that in the job description.
If, Carol, if you look at the job description under duties, there's a bullet which says works with library committees to support their work. And then very specifically says serves on the ELEC committee, participates in planning meetings, assists committee with tasks and publicity. So I don't know whether that captures what
Was
you
that in
want.
the original one too? Then I'm sorry, then it was right there. Okay, good.
Okay.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
Randy,
thanks,
You're-
Judy.
this
I
is-
think that's helpful.
yes. Randy, this is still your ball, so if you
Yep.
want to make a motion, like, carry on.
So I make a motion that the board approve the library director job. Well, it's basically just as library director duties as, I feel like I'm getting convoluted here. The only date that we have on this was the date that the executive committee approved it. So I guess I want to work that into the motion, don't I?
No,
Okay. So I make a motion that the board approve the library director duties as written.
I'll second it. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Alrighty,
I have two different documents here and I'm confused. One of them is December 3rd, the library director duties. And then the next one is dated January 24th of this year. Which one are we really talking about?
can you clear that up,
We're
Randy?
talking about the one, if you look at the very end, we're talking about the one that said, wait a minute, where am I? Okay.
Prepared?
That it was approved on May 3rd, or it was approved by the executive committee on March 5th, 2021.
Okay.
The very last sentence.
Okay. Thank you, because I had two documents in my group here, so.
Okay. So anybody else unclear as to which document we're working with here and we're asking the board to approve? Nope. Okay. I then call the question. All those in favor of adopting this document, say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand,
Aye.
wave, all that.
Aye.
Terrific. This is long overdue, and I'm glad to see that it's a unanimous decision by the board. So thank you.
For the avoidance of confusion, you may want to call this one library director description because you've got the other one that's called library and board duties. Your call, not an important point.
Yeah, that's why it was confusing.
I gotta see which two documents we're talking about.
Well, it's
Randy, is the other?
here. It says at the top, North Chatham Free Library, Library Director Duty Overview. Okay, so it goes through the duties, and I don't see anything in there about ELIC. Oh wait, down below I do, Okay, but then there is a multiple page document, 5 pages, that broke out the responsibilities of the library board and the library director. And so are the responsibilities of the library director the same duties of the document we just approved in this document with the board?
No.
Yes,
Okay.
there should be similarities in the duties, but this next document that's the duties and the responsibilities of the library board and the library director is not something that we need to approve. It was more of a clarification. It's more to help people with an understanding. And how this came about is we are really a working library board. We're really hands-on, and we take on a lot of the duties and responsibilities that would be assigned to other that are assigned to library directors at other libraries. And where conflicts have taken place, I'm not saying with our library, it's just the research that I've been reading, with library boards that are hands-on, it's hard to know where that fine line is between what the library director is expected to do and what the library board is expected to do.
Okay.
So,
Well,
many libraries give just a lot of responsibility to the director, but we're sort of like 50-50.
Okay, well, that makes sense now.
Okay.
It was very.
And it also reflects the amount of time a library, Vicky works. If they have, libraries have full-time staff, it's a different situation than when you have a very part-time staff.
Well, thank you for sharing that background, because I was.
Yeah. I think it helps clarify, for everyone when we get into tricky situations like COVID brought up a lot of things that we've never experienced before, who makes decisions and what type of, situations or scenarios. Vicky's going to be making decisions because she has to do that on the fly while the library is open, but sort of long range planning for COVID, the board would, really have the final say on something like that. So this is just to help clarify and hopefully make the interaction smoother. It's smooth now, but if, just clarifies everything for people. So
I just,
yep.
yeah, continue.
No, go ahead, Julie. Did you have a question?
No, I just want to let you know that once when I was talking to another library director and another one, she looked at me sort of sternly and said, don't you know that the role of the board is to raise money? And you should be hiring staff to do all the work that you folks are doing. Anyway, I didn't listen to her too much, but she was sort of looking down her nose.
Well, she doesn't live in a community with nearly the talent that we do, obviously.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, we are a hands-on board, that's for sure.
Okay, So
Is there
that
any-
motion passed.
There's, yeah, yes, the motion passed on the job description. Great, thanks for pointing that out so I can add it. So we've basically talked about the third bullet, which is the duties and responsibilities of the library board and the library director. Does anyone have any other questions about that? So then we'll move to the second bullet, which is the director's goals and objectives. So Vicky put together this goals and objectives document, and we worked with her in our last executive committee meeting. We talked to her about these. This will help us sort of better understand the day-to-day tasks and the things that Vicky is doing. It kind of feeds into her time task tool. I think this helps because I know there's been a lot of, well, the COVID period was, stressful. Vicky has expressed to the executive committee the extra responsibilities that she's had with COVID, and prior to that, the extra responsibilities of the program. So the executive committee is continuing to sort of take a look at, where's Vicky's time spent? What are the things that she feels she cannot complete because she doesn't have enough time? Or are the programs asking more of her that we didn't expect or plan for? So these whole packages, these 3 items that we're looking at tonight are sort of, I feel, a goal to sort of help sort of make the library run smoothly, have an understanding of, who helps whom and things like that. I don't know, does anyone else from the executive committee want to chime in here?
Rick, you're muted.
I was muted, sorry. So yes, this is a long time coming. We should have been doing this annually with the library director all along. We didn't, but now we are. And this is all part of the review. Don't forget, folks, that Vicky has been operating for a very long time and somewhat patiently with an acting title. And so we needed to get these goals and objectives into place so that we could do a review with Vicky as we consider what to do with that acting title. So this is the next step in that process. The executive committee is serving as the personnel committee, and we'll be meeting with Vicky, I think 3 times this year to review, to do a job performance review, which is something that we also have never done consistently, and we need to do consistently with our staff. So we're asking Vicky to do the same with Craig that the executive committee is doing with her, and just professionalize this operation a little bit more, or quite a bit more in that sense.
Great. Does anybody have any
Oh, sorry.
questions? Were you going to ask if anyone had any questions?
Yeah, about the goals and objectives for the year. No?
I think it's
Vicky,
best practice.
Yes. So Randy, we're voting to adopt this. Is that what we decided? No. The executive committee voted to adopt it, and we're informing the full board then is what's happening here. Okay? Terrific. Randy, I had to walk away from my agenda because my battery was dying and I had to find a cord. What's next on the agenda?
New business. And then I don't know why I've got annual board meeting here. I shouldn't have had that, but it's just new business and then we're done.
Does anybody have any new business? Or is there any old business hanging out there that somebody wants to bring back? we never, we put this on the agenda every time and we never use this slot. It seems we cover everything in the rest of the slots. Okay,
We sometimes do.
all right.
It
Going
also
once,
gives people freedom to bring, just to hang on for a minute here. It also gives people freedom to bring up something that doesn't fit under those other categories,
sure, yeah. You're right, occasionally we do new business, but usually somehow we manage to cover it prior to getting this point in the agenda. We'll leave it on the agenda though, because for the reason you just expressed.
Good.
All right, going once, going twice. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Very good meeting, very good
Yeah,
meeting.
Vicky, very nice overview, Vicky. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I always like that
Really
annual
fun.
report.
That
Yeah,
was
it was
really,
very, very helpful as the
I'm
new
sorry,
person.
we didn't have photos.
Mm,
Yeah.
Next year.
yeah. Good night, everybody.
Night.
good night, everybody.
Ciao.
Right. Thanks, Vicky.